Yeah. Which luckily I have this, so I don't have to worry about nobody else anymore. That was a huge issue for a while. Like
people hitting on you and stuff?
Yes, because for me, I'm like, I want the openers and everything else, and the ones that I want to open for are usually the guys, right?
Yeah.
And so I find out whenever I go to do the opening that it's more like, yeah, I thought you were hot. So now you're going to open, and then I'm like, no. And then they're like, never mind, you're never opening for me again. I'm like, what? Come on.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Cowboy Experience. I'm Eric Sims, your CX Cowboy, and we're glad to have you on the show today. We are sitting in Humble, Texas, and as we traveled around the state, and today we've got the pleasure of having country music star Kate Watson with us here.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah, and so Kate was kind enough to come on the show and share a little bit about what she's, her career is going through right now, and give us some history on where she started and where she's going, and maybe spend an hour or two name dropping with us on all the dirt on whoever we want to talk about. Not really, but thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, you made an offer I could not resist, which was you said, let's ride horses. Let's, talk. Let's have some coffee. Well, I'm going to be here. So
that's what we call bait.
Yeah.
But we're glad. Yeah, it was actually a cool experience. We got to go out and ride horses earlier to go. So
yes.
It was pretty neat. Wasn't the first time that I got to meet you. You don't remember me because I was just a fanboy at the time. But I met you a little over a year ago, a little year and a half ago maybe, at Buck's backyard.
Yeah.
And you were opening up for the Bellamy Brothers that night and blew the doors off the place. And so I made a note in my mind at that point in time. I was like, I started following you on social media, not as a stalker, but as I was like, she's really great. Like it was 4 or 5 of us together, and we're like, she's really fantastic. And I was like, I hope at some point in time I get an opportunity to sit down with her. So thank you. Another special note is that here we are, not quite a year into the show, and you are our first female country music artist on the show. So mark it down. Kate Watson, number one, numero uno. So anyway, so now that we've got that out of the way.
I have a comment about,
okay.
So the first show you ever came to that I got to open for the Bellamy Brothers, that one was actually like kind of a changing moment for me, very crucial. I remember I got to sit front row for their show after I was done and everything. And it was awesome. I mean, the crowd was full and crazy, and everybody there they craved music, and so I'm sitting front row, and I remember watching, the guys up there, and they had their little fans blowing on them, and, everything they did was just so cool. Like, they commanded the stage, and I thought, just watching them, because I was mesmerized, I was like, this is what I need to be doing. Like, whatever that is, I need to capture it, and I need to learn and do it.
That's awesome.
So, I immediately from then on, like, that's something I started doing. So
that's cool. So you're absorbing from people that have been doing it for a long. These guys have been on stage forever, right?
And they didn't do anything crazy either. Like they just stood there and played, and I was like, it felt what's the word? Like magical almost. You know, like whoa.
Well, it's aha moment like that for people like whatever it was you saw or felt at that time. Like I said, it had an impact on you, and you were able to take that and alter or grow or expand how you perform as a performer. So that's really neat. So getting into that, how long have you been performing? Like how long have you been doing this?
Let's see. I decided to start doing this professionally at 15 years old.
Okay.
So I'm 24 now. Math is hard.
9. Something like that.
9 years? Okay.
Maybe. I'm not good at it either.
No, I can do it on paper, not my head. But it got big about 4 years ago.
Okay.
So if we start from the beginning, I actually got into music because of my parents. So my dad, and he's here, you'll get to see him in a minute, but he plays the acoustic guitar. He is a phenomenal songwriter and has helped write all the original songs that I have. And like we've co-written together, a lot of them. So he does that, and he was the leader of the band. And then my mom played the drums.
Okay.
But I don't just mean like, oh, she played the drums. Like, I mean, she played the drums, like she's Animal the Muppet on those things. And so for me, at like 7 years old, with them traveling all across Texas, playing these different shows, which they did Christian music, so it was D-Nows and youth camps and different churches, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
At 7, I was getting to witness like music mean more to people than just, words or notes. It was something that was changing people's lives from the inside out.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that, but in a 7-year-old version, it was, my parents are rock stars, and I want to be a rock star too when I grow up. And so through my life, I've moved 15 times.
Okay.
And so as a kid, and some of the most crucial points in your life that you grow, and, I went through a really tough time. You're always the new kid. And that was hard because everybody already has their friends. They don't need more. And like, obviously, like the loner is the easier target for everything else, right? So for me, I had to go through a lot of just figuring out how to be confident in myself and just not care what other people thought, what they said, what they did, and be able to stand on my own 2 feet. I'd say that's the biggest thing I got to, figure that out, because most people, they have their friends to lean back on, and I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I had me. I had, at the time, I had a relationship with God, but it wasn't like this big, like it wasn't deep.
Yeah.
And so going through that, it wrecked me. It brought me to rock bottom of my life where, yes, I was always a goody two-shoes and stuff like that, but I started making decisions that weren't the best, and luckily I have the parents that I do, because they started seeing the signs of like, oh, like her grades are slipping like crazy, like what's going on? And they had a talk with me, and it was a huge turning point in my life, because they were like, look, we don't know what's going on, but we know that something's not right, and that something in your life needs to change, because you can't keep on this path.
Yeah.
And so I got grounded for the longest I'd ever been grounded in my entire life, which was a month.
Yeah.
and
And how old were you?
I was 14,
Yeah.
or maybe just
So it's
15.
5 years. It feels like 5 years when you're that age.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I was stuck in my room all that time, or, whatever. And so I decided to turn to the one person who, had always been there for me in my life, which was God.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, God, I'm going to give you a chance. Like, all these other people in my life are saying that I'm worthless, that I can't ever amount to anything, that, I shouldn't be on a stage or whatever else, because I help lead worship at church and stuff like that. And it was the coolest thing ever, because I just dove into the Word every single day for that month and said, God, you tell me, who I am. And He told me that I'm a masterpiece, that I'm beautifully and wonderfully made, and that He sent His one and only Son to die just for me. And at that point, I started seeing differences in my life through, like, everywhere that I went, it was like there was this light inside me.
Yeah.
And that's whenever, He really spoke into my heart and was like, I want you to pursue music and do it for me.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in this industry, they do it because, they love it, or someone else in their family, kind of like me, that's why they start music. For me, it has such a deeper meaning and purpose, because my music isn't like this, oh, it's inspirational or anything like that, but it's like, it allows me to connect with people, and then I get to be an example with my story, with my life, with every single choice that I make. I can make a difference to somebody, and hopefully just bring more joy. And then they ask me, why are you so happy? How are you able to do this and, keep it going? Or, how are you able to still have hope through some of these things that you're going through? And I get to say it's because of Him.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the coolest things about what I do. And then that's whenever I sat my parents down, me being me, okay? You said one of your daughters is like a CEO. I felt like a CEO in this moment.
Yeah.
I sat them down, my mom being a principal, and I said, I'm meant to do music. Like, that's what I'm meant to do and pursue, and I'm not going to college. And I fully expected like this big, just like, no, you're going to college, maybe a smack on the head or something. And it was so crazy. They looked at me and they said, we know this is what you're supposed to do, and we'll help you in whatever way that is,
Yeah.
And that was kind of just the very beginning starting mark of it all. It doesn't really feel like the beginning, because as you go through and with stuff with this career, you're constantly going, this is a starting point. No, this is a starting point, because it takes so long to get somewhere. You're working your butt off for, I think Lainey Wilson, her story was she did it for 10 years before it actually took off. And it's the truth, some people, like with social media, it's a lot different. You can, like Zach Bryan, put a video on, and he was in the Navy, I think, and then all of a sudden it blew up. He got a record deal. There's stuff like that. For me, I'm really happy that I have the story that I do, the reason that I do it, and the work that I've been putting into it along with everybody beside me. Because for me, it has helped me to truly appreciate every single win, every single thing that we get, every single opener, for all these different people. I appreciate it so much,
That's inspiring to hear. And it's, I would say, unusual for a lot of people have to have a massive crash after they've started something like that, right? To see like, hey, I lost it. Now I kind of understand what I was missing and have to rebuild. And although you had your moment, that bottom that you talked about, which is, at 14, difficult, right? Like life, I've got a daughter the same age at 14. Like that age is brutal, right? And being the new kid, and that type of scenario is really, really hard. Hey, you got a friend.
Hey.
Come on the show. But, being able to have something in your life that you can turn to and that being God, right? That can keep you centered and be there regardless of the ups and downs. I think that's an extremely valuable, or it's an invaluable lesson to learn that early in your career.
Absolutely.
Because no matter how well you do, you're going to have moments where you feel alone. You're going to have moments where you feel like everyone's against you or everyone's for you, or all these roller coaster rides that we all go on. And so having that as the center point for you and understanding where things actually come from, the source of your success and the source of your talent and the source of your hope and love. Man, I hope you never lose that. That's awesome. You've been able to capture that so early. And then being like, I was just thinking as a dad, being able to have your father with you and write music with him. I know I can't speak what it's like from the daughter's perspective, but I can speak from a dad's perspective. Like, there's nothing cooler than spending time with your little girl, right? I mean, like, well, I shouldn't say that because your mom's in the room. There may be cooler stuff he likes to do, like hang out with his wife. And I have, but in that sense of your children, like, there's nothing really cooler than being able to invest time and spend time creatively with your little girl. So, you guys have been writing music together, but before that, I know there's some stuff there. Like, you didn't just get to where you are today. There's been some pretty cool milestones along the way that you've hit. Maybe share a little bit about that, because I mean, you were on American Idol, right?
Yeah.
That's that's an elite group. It's not like everybody, that's a natural step for everybody. It's like, oh, we all get to go on American Idol. That's a pretty cool deal. How did that happen?
Howdy, partners. Here at the Cowboy Experience Show, we're all about connecting with the trailblazers and pioneers. That's why we're proud to partner with LEC in outsourced contact center and CX services. At LEC, they're not just keeping up, they're setting the pace in professional services, helping businesses across the globe enhance their customer experiences and streamline operations. Leading Edge Connections, your partner in the wild west of customer experience. You can find them at leadingedgecx.com.
The Cowboy Experience Show is proud to be filmed and sponsored by one of Austin's coolest media teams. They wrangle up high-quality media for businesses, artists, and creatives who want to leave their mark. With a combo of big ideas and bold visuals, 271 Creative House is sure to make your story shine as bright as the Texas star.
So I actually, whenever I decided I was going to do music, my parents got me vocal lessons, and we ended up getting a connection of people we knew, to where my vocal coach, he taught Demi Lovato, Beyonce's sister, the guy from the Pentatonics, Maddie and Tay.
It's a bunch of no names. Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of no names. And I actually just got to meet Maddie and Tay at one of the festivals.
Oh, cool.
We were on the same lineup.
Wow.
And they were so sweet and took the time to come, speak into my life and just encourage me. And that was really, really cool, because I remember at 15, my vocal coach talking about them and what great people they were. And, so to get to put that like in real time for me, to get to
neat.
witness that was amazing. But he taught me all these different things to help me with, because you've seen my show. I go crazy. Like, I'm doing the high notes. I'm doing the, we'll get down. We'll do the pretty ballad stuff. We hold the long notes, all that kind of stuff. And he's the reason that I'm able to do all that. So thank you, Tom McKinney. Shout out to you. You are awesome. And I love you and Colleen. So he had a connection to American Idol for private audition. So he got me that, and he told them, he's like, hey, I got this girl, and I think she'd be great for, y'all's next season. So they get me in there, and it was nerve-wracking, because I had just turned, at that point, I had just turned 18.
Okay.
So they get me in, and I sang What a Feeling off the movie Flashdance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in my own little version.
Yeah.
And they said that nobody in the history of American Idol has ever done that for their audition song. So I felt cool. And so they gave me the yeses and stuff like that. And I went to shake their hands. And Lionel Richie was like, I think you could win this whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And that was such like a crucial, it was like, I believe in you.
Yeah.
And throughout kind of the different things in my life, that's something that meant the world to me. If somebody believed in me, because it's hard enough to believe in yourself, especially at the very beginning. And so I was like, oh my gosh, because I grew up listening to him in the car. My dad would listen to him and, Michael Jackson and, what is it? The Boys to Men, like all that kind of stuff. So that was my dad's thing. And we love that. So getting to do that, I go to Hollywood Week, and I thought it would be cool because they give you a list of songs. You pick from them, and you do it a cappella. So I picked his song, Hello. And I remember going up there, and for one, we're backstage lined up, and they have their camera, and I'm watching each person before me, and they go, okay, you have like 5 seconds. Are you excited? How are you feeling?
Yeah.
And then you say something, and they send you on stage, and I'm like, okay, I'm already thinking of my answer. It's going to be great. And I'm like, I'm ready. And so then the camera guy accidentally made a dirty joke behind, and I'm just like, and everyone starts laughing like crazy. And then they stick a mic in my face, shove me on stage. And I was like, oh, everyone just heard me like laughing like that. And oh my gosh, like that's just a great way to start. Well, Katy Perry gets up and starts dancing with me. So I'm like, okay, let's embrace the white girl dancing time, So I did that. And I get to the middle, and they asked me, what song are you going to sing? And I said, I'm going to sing your song, Hello. And Lionel looked at me, and let me just give you a little preview to this. I watched everybody before me.
Yeah.
So there were a few other people that did one of his songs, and he told them to get off the stage, that it was not good. Don't ever sing his song again. So I'm sitting there going, was this a mistake?
Right.
But
this is all or nothing type of scenario.
And that is exactly what I said to him, because he goes, this is either going to be really bad or really good for you.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's go big or go home.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to lie to you. When I first started, it was like, I can't remember any of it. Like I blacked out while I'm singing. And then I come to, and all of a sudden I see him standing out of his chair, clapping and smiling at me.
That's awesome.
And I don't usually like cry in front of people, but I mean, I was just coming down my face because I just could not comprehend that.
That's a huge epic moment.
Yeah.
Especially for an 18-year-old? Yeah.
Yeah.
For an 18-year-old. So like who's, at the beginning stages of their career. I mean, most people never get to meet anybody that's that big, like much less have them get in front of them and have the cojones to sing their song. And not just like one of their songs, like one of their most epic songs right in front of them, and then knock it out of the park. So that's awesome. So being on there, that's because there's such a diverse thing going on there, right? Like it's almost like this. You've got the craziness of the media piece. You've got the show, and the stress and probably a lot of stuff that you may or may not have been ready for at that point in time.
They do it on purpose to you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's one of those, like, trial
Yeah.
by fire. How does she do, right? Or how do they do? Can they hold up with this? Because
Yeah.
the industry's rough. When you looking at that now, what were some things you took away that you learned from that experience that you think like made me better?
I think being able to, because I hadn't been on many stages at that point. I was at little coffee shops and stuff like that starting out, or church, which is a very forgiving crowd.
Yeah.
But that literally trial by fire, like, I think that is very well said, because, going from that to sitting in front of people who've been doing this, and who have made it.
Yeah.
And they're playing for, tons and tons of people.
Yeah.
And so, Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, Luke Bryan, they're sitting there in front of me and I have to sing, and they are supposed to judge me. That's their job.
Yeah.
That was just like, oh my gosh. Like, out of anything that could make me tough, make me be able to sing in front of anybody and sing anywhere, that's what did it.
I would imagine, like, I would think it's like nerves times 1,000,000.
Oh my God.
I mean, like, to your point, like, you've got stars and then you've got mega stars. Like,
Right.
Lionel Richie is a pretty epic mega star.
Yeah.
Katy Perry, massive star. Luke Bryan, as far as country goes, like,
Yeah.
pretty big star, right?
Oh my gosh.
So, so you jump in there, you go through the experience, you took away a whole bunch of great things. I'm sure you met a lot of cool people along the way, and have endless stories in there. What happened next? Like, because I'm assuming, like, that thing's kind of like coming off a big high, right? Like, it's kind of like you're here, and then you're like, and no matter where you go at that point in time, the attention has to go down a little bit, and then kind of reality check. So what was that like?
It was tough because you're on such a high. You go through all this crazy stuff, and then you go right back to normal life.
Yeah.
And I did start gaining a little bit from that. I'm trying to think. So, like, the newspaper wrote about me in the town I was living in, stuff like that. People from my high school were like, "Oh yeah, she's on American Idol," things like that. But then all of a sudden, it just died right back down, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because you want something like that to be something that just throws you way farther, and it really didn't.
Yeah.
I did meet some really cool people, make some new friends in the industry. But then I'm like, okay, I just got to keep trucking. And I started praying for something that, you just never know when things like that are going to happen. But I was like, God, I really want a Justin Bieber moment. And that sounds so funny, but he was discovered by Usher through YouTube, and it was a crazy thing. Like, he didn't have like these massive connections with anybody. He was just a kid, singing. And then Usher saw his video, and that blew up, and then, like, took him under his wing and got him in front of all the right people. And I was like, God, I need somebody like that.
Yeah.
And so I get the honor and privilege to help lead worship at the largest cowboy church in the whole world. Lone Star Cowboy Church in Montgomery, Texas.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Shout
out. And so Cody Johnson used to go there. He still ropes there. And, there's a lot of big time people that are there that I don't realize because it's so big, you know. But one person I didn't know went there was, we all know Parker McCollum, right?
If you haven't heard of Parker McCollum by now, you're living under a rock.
Yes. So his uncle goes there.
Okay.
And I didn't know his uncle or anything like that, but apparently he was like, took a video of me, knew that I was an artist also, and sent the video to Parker, and it was kind of during COVID at that point. And at the beginning of that year, actually, God told me, this is your year.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there going, okay, cool. And then COVID hit, and I was like, God, are you kidding me? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But I was like, okay, like, I'm just going to say yes, and I'm going to trust you, and that's going to be that. And if you say that this is my year, then this is my year. And we went through, and towards the end, that's whenever his uncle sent the video to Parker. It was like, you need to come see this girl.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know that. I led worship one day, and it was the craziest thing. Like, everything just felt like on fire, just like awesome. And like, God was really moving. And after the service, I see Parker McCollum walking straight up to me and stuck his hand out. And he's like, "Hey, my name is Parker McCollum." And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh.
"Yeah, I know." And so I was just like, "What are you doing
Yeah.
here?" You know? And he said, "I came here specifically to see you." And that in itself blew my mind,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm like, "Okay." And he was like, he said, "Kate, there's tons of girls in Texas and Nashville and all over the world who can sing and who have talent, but you do something that can't be taught, and that's making connections with people."
Yeah.
And so he said, "I believe in you, and I think you're going to go far, and I want to help you get there." So he spent the next 2 months just on the phone with me and my family, talking next steps and get me connected with the right people, all this different stuff, you know, which was unbelievable to me, you know,
Yeah.
and everything that I had been praying for, there it was. And so then he told me, after all this stuff, he was like, "Okay, now it's time for you to do the work. I'm going to step back, and you need to play every single place that you can, because right now, like as a performer and on stage, you're green. And the only way you can fix that is by playing everywhere."
Yeah. Practice makes
So,
perfect. Yeah. Just
yeah.
keep doing it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so I'm like, okay, hit the ground running. You know, everything that I could get, I would take it, you know, whether it was 3 hours every single night or whatever. I was like, I'm going to do it, you know? And it was to the point I was playing 17 shows a month.
That's a lot.
And a
Yeah.
lot of those were 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, you know, as an artist, just in case you guys out there don't know this, you're not supposed to play that many for like your voice and stuff like that, because you need to be able to record new songs and things like that. So it's really, really hard on your voice, but it did build my stamina. It built my stage presence.
Yeah.
It built my interactions with people and being able to figure out kind of my original songs of what sounds good, what are my more like bigger songs.
Yeah.
You know, things like that, gaining new fans in the process, and also just showing people that I work hard, because I had a lot of people comment through all that, like, "Oh, you're helping load in, you're helping
Yeah.
load out, like you're not just taking your microphone out and being like, I'm done."
Yeah.
You know, I was like, no, like one thing I tell people is I want to show to my team that like you should be working just as hard as me.
Yeah.
You know, because we are all a team here. We're all working together. We all have the same goal. And that's something that's important to me. And that I want to show people, you know, that you should care about your stuff as much as everybody else.
Yeah.
Which for me, it's a part of my process too, you know, because everyone has their routines.
Yeah.
And so for me, that is part of my routine. I like, you know, picking up the heavy stuff and going and setting it down, putting it where you want it, getting your stuff set up, doing a sound check, and dance around the stage, whatever you got to do, you know? And that feels good to me. Having a cup of coffee before every show, that is something for me that like makes a difference with my show.
Well, I think routine is important for anybody, but I think what you're talking about is like, if you look at leadership in general, it's a leadership quality you have that will take you a long way as your brand expands. Being able to be that person that sets the example for the people that are tying on with you, you know, that you want to work with you in those capacities. There's a lot that could be said for that, you know, so keeping that up. I think another thing that's I don't want to skip over this, but I love the story about how you prayed for it, and very specifically what you wanted. It's taken me decades to be okay, and I share this because I think it's important for a lot of people to understand. Like when you have a strong faith, being able to be specific with God about what you want, I think is a really cool thing. And then being in the place where you're like willing to do the work and watch how it shows up, and not try to control that at the same time, speaks very highly of your maturity in your faith, right? That's something a lot of people never get, you know, and that's just, I wanted to bring that up because it's really cool. And again, I think that's something you could take with you the rest of your life as you go with those next steps. You just keep praying and keep asking, and seeing those doors open up. And it always makes it more fun too. At least in my experience, is like when you pray and then like when stuff happens, it's cool. But it's even cooler when you've had like this private conversation that's very specific that only you and God know about. And then Parker McCollum walks up, you know,
I'm
or
like,
whoever
"Whoa,
whoever it
God."
may be in your life. Like,
It really came through.
yeah, my daughters will be calling you, by the way, because they're like all dreamy eyed over Parker McCollum. Like I've almost gotten one to move to Texas with me now, just because of
Oh
him.
my gosh.
So she's come in and wants to see him and whatever else. Like they're just like, you know, and he's seeing him walk up. I'm sure I'm not a. He's a good looking guy. I'm not ashamed
He
to say
is.
that. Parker
He
McCollum's
is.
a handsome man.
I was single at the time. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And
I came here just to see you, and you're
yeah.
like, oh.
He kind of semi called me pretty in there too,
Yeah.
where I was like, oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
know?
So
But the one thing that I also loved about him was that his character is just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, like him as a person, like he's just so sweet and like has a heart to help people. And for me, that was like, whoa, you know?
I think that's I've seen his show and I've seen enough interviews and stuff with him. You can see there's a genuineness with him
Yes.
that I think is lost with a lot of artists.
Absolutely.
But if anybody knows how to connect with an audience and see that in other people, I think that's what he's really gifted at as well. His authenticity comes through very clearly when he's live.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he picked up on that in you, like he said, and called it right out. So that's really cool. So Parker, so you've got American Idol, Parker. Two things that 99.9% of us never get to do.
I know.
And you're only 24, and we're not even to that point yet. So what happened? So you met with Parker, and then he worked with you. Your careers started moving in a different direction. So what kind of happened at that point in time?
I'm trying to think. After that was 4 years ago now.
Okay.
So I was 20 then, or something like that. 24 now, and it was. I mean, now I'm kind of back in contact with them, and we're kind of. I can't talk too much about that here, but we're kind of seeing what the next steps are and different ways that I can start intertwining some
expanding the career.
Yes.
Well, cool.
So, but I'd say a big part of it too is I just released my very first album last year.
Yeah.
And I've done singles before that because people hear your first album and they think that's all you've ever released. And I'm like, no. I have tons of songs out before that. But the album, it was my first 8-song album that we put together. I have music videos for 4 of them out. And we have some special stuff on there that are songs that we wrote at the very beginning of me starting out. We were like, you know what, let's bring that back. And we put violin and cello and stuff like that on it to just make it really, so that's something we did that was absolutely crazy and a big step for me in my career. But we also have been building a show through this whole time, Funny story with how I actually started band shows. Yeah. It was right after I met Parker, and I had a booking agent at the time, and I was doing only acoustic shows for a while because it takes time to find your band and put together things like that. It's very intricate. Mm-hmm. And so my booking agent calls and goes, I have a show in 2 weeks. If you can get a band together, you can headline it because whoever it is just dropped out. And I was like, all right. Well, then that's my challenge. That's what I'm about to do. So we put together a band in 1 week. We had 1 rehearsal, and then we headlined the show in the town that I graduated.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was pretty dang cool. And from there on out, I was like, if I can do that, I can do anything. So that's kind of where that started and where it started mending and growing. And, you weave in and out of band members trying to find your people, which is so important, because one thing I found through all this time of dealing with band and stuff like that, you want to have people that you love, that means something to you. Yeah. Because if you don't, they can make or break, what every experience is going to be like because you're with these people all the time. Yeah. You're on the road constantly. You're touring. You're going from place to place. Like I talked about earlier, you're setting up and things like that. You need people that you can depend on that are also going to work as hard as you and that are there for the ride. Yeah. And that's one thing now that I can say, I feel like we've really found a good group of people that we just have so much fun.
Good. I mean, that's your point. It's a huge part, right? It's like anything. It's because you're building your own your own company, as it would be, right? Your brand. And having the right people involved with you becomes extremely important long term, not just in management, but to your point, the
Right.
creative aspects of who you're going to be spending all this time with. Because there's the performance factor, right?
Right.
But B, there's the part of how it impacts you, right?
Exactly.
And your peace and your happiness along the way, which bleeds into your creative process and allows
Absolutely.
you to be your best self more often.
Yep.
So that's cool. You've been able to do that so quickly, because that's not easy. I mean, for those people that have been around the music industry, it's hard to find band members, period. It's hard to find good ones. And then you've got the
Yeah.
whole part of they've got to jive with you on top of
Yes.
that, right? So like they could be a great steel guitar player, a great drummer, or whatever it be. I mean, I guess if you're out a drummer, you can always throw your mom in the mix. But they've got to be able to jive with you as well,
Right.
and see your vision of what you're trying to accomplish and the shows that
Absolutely.
you want to put on, and meet the needs of your fan base, right? That
Yep.
you're building. So it's great. So what's up next? Like where are we at today? What have you got going on that you can share with us?
Okay, so I'd say, and just to add kind of to that, is like we've been doing a lot of openers along the way for different artists, like William Beckman, Dina Carter, I have so many. Roger Krager, Kevin Fowler, Josh Ward, Flatland Cavalry, John Wolfe,
Wow.
Bellamy Brothers, which
Yeah,
is one you
I
got
got
to come
those, yeah.
to, Little Texas.
Yeah.
And so there's many more. So if you guys want to look at who else I've opened for, Braxton Keith, he's one I've opened
Yep.
up for. You can go check that out. But the ones that I have coming up that I'm so excited. On February 14 and 15, I'll be opening up for Diamond Rio.
Nice.
So to hit 2 shows with them was like insane.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm over here like, meet in the middle,
Yeah.
meet that old Georgia pine. I'm like, hey y'all, let me sing that song with
y'all
you.
want to bring me on to do that
Yeah,
one?
bring Kate Watson,
Yeah.
come up and do the song. Okay. So we'll see how that goes.
Put that in your prayer life.
Oh, yeah, that's a specific one.
There's a specific one to get on stage. Sing a specific song.
Yes, and then I have some that I can't talk about coming up yet, and then I also have Easton Corbin in October.
That's awesome.
And then Aaron Watson's a big one that I open up for, and I have a funny story about him for all of you to hear. So Aaron Watson, we have the same last name, right? And everyone, they wonder if we're related.
Yeah.
And so I did this, I started doing Texas radio immediately after I met Parker, because that's one thing he told me to get into. So I did. Well, my very first year at T3R, Texas Regional Radio Award Show, I won Future Faces, which meant that I got to play on the big stage in front of everyone. And I did my song Red Lipstick and a Cowboy Hat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get up there and I told a story about whenever this was the second year I won. Okay. So the very first year, I was just meeting everyone. No one knew who I was. And Aaron Watson gets up there and gives this speech about his daughter, Jolie Kate.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like so touching, and everybody's crying. It was such a good speech. And then they hear my name, because they're like, who are you? I'm like, Kate Watson. And they go, oh, your dad gave the best speech. And my response was, thank you. And so I get up there for this, I've won the award. I'm up there singing my song, and I tell that story.
Yeah.
And Aaron was listening. So he ended up DMing me, and he was like, oh, you're my honorary niece, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up getting to open for him
That's
at
cool.
Waller County Fair. And so I'm sitting in my car. I was getting ready to sound check, but first I had to get on a phone meeting. And so my brain is all focused. His trailer's like a few cars over. And I'm about to hop on. All of a sudden, something just slams into my window. And I look, and it's him going in my passenger window. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I open the door, and he goes, what? You're not going to come say hey to your Uncle Aaron?
Uncle Aaron.
And I was like, oh my gosh, the fact that he even came and did that.
Yeah.
And, so I went after my sound check to go see him, on his bus like he told me to. And I knock, and it was someone who didn't recognize me, and they go, who are you? And I was like, I'm Kate Watson. And they were like, who? And I said, I'm Aaron's niece. And he goes, oh, come on. And so Aaron was laughing so hard because he heard the whole thing. And he was like, yeah, my niece. And, we did a video together and all that kind of stuff. But it was an awesome show. People bought my merch because they thought that I was related to him.
There you go. Play the card.
Oh, yeah. They're like, I want a guitar. I'm going to buy a guitar because you're, related. I was like, sure.
Knock yourself out.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take that.
That's funny. I mean, those are the cute stories that are like, you'll remember the rest of your life from these guys. So I think the camaraderie within that community is pretty unique.
It is
too, which is kind of a cool part of country music that you see is guys like Parker, guys like him, and people that are like, they're not just out for themselves.
Yeah.
It's who else can we help bring up, or who else can we help work with, and that's pretty neat. They do that for you. And so you've got what I don't want to skip two things before I get ahead of myself. So there was two things. One was I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about the fact that like in this industry, it's hard. It's like, it's not easy for anybody to make it, period. Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's even harder for female artists to make it in what has historically been a male dominant industry, even though we're seeing a lot more females come in and make a strong stand.
Yeah.
What's been your experience with that? Like
it's tough because I think, women in country have like this set thing that whenever people hear that, they think of a girl who sings either pretty songs or like, man-hater songs.
Yeah.
That has a guitar, stands behind a microphone stand, and that's it. That's what they kind of envision, the stereotypical whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's been really hard for me because I've been trying to break that, because that is the opposite of what I do. Whenever I come, I feel like more one of the boys,
Yeah.
whenever I come out there, because I give more of like a Garth Brooks / Carrie Underwood kind of thing where I'm moving around the stage. I'm an entertainer. Like that is my thing. And I also play electric guitar for my shows. We pull out some AC/DC stuff, but we're really rowdy and really crazy. And then we can also, bring in the dynamics of, okay, let's break it down now,
Yeah.
but then we're going to bring it right back up and we're going to party it on out of there, and I say that's something that's been really hard for me specifically. And I think it's just a fact that, on radio stations and music playlists and Spotify playlists, it's just very common that people don't have a lot of women on their stuff. They more have guys on their stuff because it's more pleasing to hear.
Yeah.
Even me. I mean, it's the same for me. I do the same thing. Most of my stuff is guys that I listen to as well. Lainey Wilson kind of is one of the people that broke the mold for me of like, I have a lot more of her stuff on there because I think it's just so cool, so different and edgy and new.
Yeah, I think there's some of the female artists are starting to break the bubble of stylistically. And I don't know how much of that's been like industry driven. I mean, I know in Nashville it is, right? Because they try to control everything anyway.
Yes.
But down here, I think it's been, and what I'm starting to see with people like yourself and Bree Bagwell and some of these other ones that are like, hey, I'm going to be a kick-ass artist, right? I'm going to play music and do my thing.
Yeah.
And I've always said, like, I think the Texas music scene's more powerful in that sense anyway, just holistically, because, it's been that way historically. Is you can play your music your way and do it your style, and that's why a lot of people come here to do that. But I think what's really, really, really cool is that you've been able to kick that in place for yourself. And
Absolutely.
I think, my view is, I think we're really starting to see a birth of the female music artist in Texas really take off. Like, I think there's some really strong female artists like yourself coming up. So keep doing what you're doing. Like, stick with your guns there. So what's next? Like, what's going on? I mean, you just got engaged,
I did.
and that's congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So she's off the market, guys. So, don't quit watching at this moment, but back off. But you got engaged to a great guy.
Yes.
Right. And he maybe want to share a little bit what he does or who he is, if you can.
So he, I won't say his name, just, but he is he's a cowboy. He's a police officer. He was an Army medic. He was an MMA fighter. He was an EMS as well. I mean, I feel like I just found like the perfect person that just, not only does he have all these things on his belt where he could save my life, he could end my life. As you said earlier, he could do, and then he could bring you right back to life.
He can take you there and back again, as they say.
But also just such a kind, sweet person that he's
Yeah.
just my best friend in the whole world.
Well, there you go. That's all you got to do if you want to find a girl like Kate. You just got to be an MMA fighter, be an EMS, be a hero, nice guy. Like, good luck.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool. So you got that in the future coming up, which is obviously exciting.
Yes.
And then musically, what's going on? What's the next step?
So we've been going through, last year we were already planning for this year. We're going to have 5 single releases.
Okay.
We're going to have some music videos behind some of those. And then we'll also have a Christmas song, hopefully,
Okay.
at the end of the year. That's still kind of on the table. But right now, I have a song coming out February 14th. It's called Deep in the Heart. And it's kind of rock meets country.
Nice.
Because I like to call myself country rock, whenever I describe my music. Yeah. And so I felt like this was a perfect way to go, if you don't know who I am or what I do, listen to this. Here you go, So we have that one coming out. And then we also have If You're Missing That Lone Star coming out in April.
Okay.
So
five new songs coming out.
Yes.
This year.
Yeah.
And 2 of those coming out pretty quick, like one within 30 days and one not too far after that.
Oh yeah.
And so, well, are you going to play some songs for us while you're here?
I am.
All right. So here we go. Well, we're going to let you do that and get things opened up with that. So, what songs? You know what? Let's let it be a surprise. You play the songs, and then we'll let everybody enjoy that, and then we'll come back and wrap things up.
Okay. I got red dirt on my boots, country music in my soul. If you ask me about my roots, well, I take you down to the rodeo, pledge allegiance to the flag. That's what I was taught to do. And I raise a glass to all who served, the red, white, and the blue. 'Cause I'm a truck driving hard, laying flat, lying hell, raising child of the USA. I was born and raised to be gun toting, buckle wearing, mama loving, God fearing. God knows I love this land. I'm a red-blooded American. I learned respect and manners. Say please, yes sir, and damn. I drive a 4x4 and I hold the door for anyone I can. Well, I celebrate my freedom every 4th of July. 'Cause it's in my blood and it's what I love till the day I die. 'Cause I'm a truck driving hard, laying flat, lying hell, raising child of the USA. I was born and raised to be gun toting, buckle wearing, mama loving, God fearing. God knows I love this land. I'm a red-blooded American. Woo. I'm proud to be in the land of the free. Oh, and the home of the brave. 'Cause I'm a truck driving hard, playing fly, lying hell, raising child of the USA. I was born and raised to be gun toting, buckle wearing, mama loving, God fearing. God knows I love this land. 'Cause I'm a truck driving hard, playing black, lying hell, raising child of the USA. I was born and raised to be gun toting, buckle American. Red-blooded American.
Awesome. Thank you so much for performing those songs. I can't wait for those to be released, throughout the year. Hey, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being the first female artist on my show.
Yes.
We're so excited. Again, maybe we'll come back another time.
Absolutely.
Okay. Before you just get too big and forget about us.
You can count on it, man.
But we really appreciate you coming on the show. Hey, if people want to find you, what's the best way for people to find you? Obviously, iTunes and things like that. But if they want to find out where your shows are or whatever it is, and catch you on tour, what's the best way to look that up?
You guys can follow me at Kate Watson Music on all social media platforms. And then also my website is Kate Watson Music Official, which has all my tour dates on it. You guys, another thing that I want you to do is I want you to come to a show. Come to a show, buy some merch. I'd love to meet you. And thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, I can tell you she'll actually come up and meet you because I got to meet her when I was at the show. So, hey, thanks for watching this episode. It's been a lot of fun. Go check out Kate. Go see her live. Download her music. Give her a follow and share it with all your friends. While you're doing that, like, follow, and subscribe and share our show as well. Thanks for joining us on the Cowboy Experience. We'll see you next time. Adios.